Samir Ahmad. I am from Department of General Surgery, Sree Balaji Medical College, Chennai. Today's topic is introduction to jaw swellings. The jaw swellings, how do we classify? So main thing is that four things are there, like either it is originating from mucoperiosteum, or whether it is osseous tumor, or whether it is inflammatory tumor, or it is from tooth germ. So one by one we will see. So arising from mucoperiosteum. So we have epulis. Then again, epulis are of different types: fibrous, granulomatous, myeloid, sarcomatous, and it can be carcinomatous also. Then arising from tooth germ, epithelial odontomes, connective tissue odontomes, and composite odontomes. Then osseous tumor. So osseous tumor can be benign or malignant. So in benign, we have fibrous dysplasia, ivory osteoma, Paget's disease, and in malignant, whether it is originating from maxilla or mandible. And finally, we have inflammatory. So inflammatory can be alveolar abscess, or it can also be osteomyelitis. So coming to epulis, epulis is a generic term applied for tumor of gingiva or alveolar mucosa. It is a tumor like hyperplasia of the fibrous connective tissue, and it is divided into, or it is classified as fibrous, granulomatous, myeloid, sarcomatous, or carcinogenic. It could be. So we can call it a carcinomatous. So clinical features. So see, basically it is seen mainly in middle age or old age group, and female predilection is 2/3 to 3/4, and typically it appears as single or multiple folds of hyperplastic tissue facial aspect of alveolar ridge and lingual to mandibular ridge. So redundant tissue is firm and fibrous, and the size is 1 centimeter to the whole of vestibule, and it may appear ulcerated or erythematous, and anterior position of the jaw is affected more than the posterior portion. So this is important thing. And another thing is that it is associated with history of ill-fitting dentures. The treatment: surgical removal of microscopic examination of surgical removal with the microscopic examination of the excised tissue. That we will remove it and we will send it for histopath. And partial thickness or full thickness surgical blade excision has to be taken, and we can do curettage also, and electrosurgery and cryosurgery can also be done. So odontogenic tumors. So these tumors comprise of complex group of lesions of diverse histopath types and clinical behavior. So tumors of odontogenic epithelium is odontogenic epithelium. It can be mixed odontogenic, that is odontogenic epithelium and ectomesenchyme, or tumors of odontogenic ectomesenchyme also. So that is mainly predominantly ectomesenchyme. So three types are there. So tumors of odontogenic epithelium, it is one of the example is ameloblastoma. So ameloblastoma is a rare benign tumor of odontogenic epithelium, that is ameloblast. So it is also called as adamantioma. The term was coined in 1885 by French physician, and again ameloblastoma, it was coined in 1930 by Ivey and Churchill. So the clinical features of ameloblastoma, it has been defined by Robinson as usually unicentric, non-functional, intermittent in growth, anatomically benign and clinically persistent tumor. So age is around 20 to 40 years, it is more commonly seen, and no sex predilection. Main site is mandible, that is 80%, and axilla 20%, and in 75% in molar and ramal region. So signs and symptoms are asymptomatic in early stages until the lesion grows and produces intraoral and extraoral jaw swelling. So in the later stage, with nerve involvement can be there, and there will be sensory changes of the lower lips, and pain can also be there if infection is there. So, and it could be large persistent lesion also, and if it is large, it may exhibit fluctuation as well. So and that is called eggshell crack. So clinical classification is it could be solid multicystic intraosseous type, that is conventional classification, and it could be unicystic type, peripheral type, malignant ameloblastoma, or pituitary ameloblastoma. So there is no treatment. In the absence of treatment, the ameloblastoma keeps on enlarging and causes thinning of surrounding bone, leading to fluctuation. So since it is not encapsulated tumor, it enlarges and invade into neighboring tissue by replacing them rather than pushing them as seen in the cyst. So invasion of the medullary space is first feature, and when the tumor attains the large size with the bone erosion, and then there is escape into periosteum and mucosa and muscles of the adjoining region. So root resorption is caused without osteoclastic activity. Locally aggressive invasion of the maxillofacial area may compress vital structures, obstruct airway, impair swallowing, and erode major arteries or invade middle cranial fossa as well. The extensive tumor can cause gross facial deformity also. So the size, it may range from lesion as small as 1 centimeter in diameter up to the disfiguring tumor measuring as large as 16 centimeter approximately. So in maxilla, it may enlarge to involve maxillary sinus, nasal cavity leading to nasal obstruction and even proptosis of eyes. So the spread is, though it is benign locally invasive lesion, in some rare instance or late instance shows spread of distant sites. The factors are contributing to this are duration, extensive local spread, then multiple operation or proximity to anatomical passage. And radiographic features are conventional, that is solid ameloblastoma, then multilocular appearance where numerous well-defined cystic spaces of various diameter can be seen. And when radiolucencies are small lesions, is described as honeycomb or soap bubble configuration. So histological appearance is follicular type, plexiform type, acanthomatous type, basal cell type, granular type, and desmoplastic type. So management, curettage, but these days it is not advocated. So en bloc resection is mainly the one, then peripheral osteotomy, then segmental resection, cautery we can use. Curettage is removal of tumor by scraping it from the surrounding normal tissue. High recurrence rate after treatment, so that's why it is not advocated these days. Used for a small lesion in mandible or unicystic ameloblastoma. So en bloc resection without continuity defect. Most frequently used method for treatment. Removal of tumor with rim of uninvolved bone, but mainly the continuity of the jaw. So requires osteotomy approximately 1 to 2 centimeter from the margin of tumor. And advantages are not violating the tumor margin during resection, which might provide the possibility of tumor seeding in the surgical site. So segmental resection with continuity defect, removal of segment of a mandibular maxilla up to the including hemisection or more, associated with low recurrence rate. It includes hemimandibulectomy and hemimaxillectomy. So immediate reconstruction can be carried out if there is a clinical or intraoperative frozen section confirmation is available of the complete excised tumor. So if not, reconstruction can be delayed until tissue sections are studied. Autogenous free bone graft is commonly used, and allogenic bone crib with patent marrow may be used with a reconstruction plate. So osseous tumor, we have fibrous dysplasia. So there are two types, monostotic and polystotic. So Jaffe's type is also there. So FD involving fibrous dysplasia involving various number of bones and pigmented lesion of the skin. So those lesions called cafe Olat spots. And Albright syndrome, it is a kind of polyostotic fibrous dysplasia, and it is seen in precocious puberty, and skin lesions will also be there, and endocrinopathies will also be there. So clinical features involving of mandible results in not only expansion of buccal and lingual cortical plate, but also the lower border. So superior displacement of inferior alveolar canal is not uncommon. So in maxilla, the lesion displaces the sinus floor superiorly and commonly obliterates the sinus. So it is associated with asymmetry of craniofacial skeleton and pathologic features. So the management of this is smaller lesion, surgical resection is done, and cosmetic deformity with associated psychologic problem or functional deformity dictate surgical intervention in younger patients. So polyostotic disease effectively managed by biphosphonate therapy. So radiation therapy is contraindicated due to risk of post-irradiation sarcoma. So coming to Paget's disease, uh, it is a condition of abnormal reabsorption of and apposition of the bone. It is initiated by intense wave of osteoclastic activities followed by vigorous osteoblastic activities. So clinical feature, it is age above the age group of 50 years, male and female ratio is 1:1. Site is pelvis, spine, femur, skull and jaw bones. So here we are dealing with the jaw bones, and clinical feature depends on the bone involved. Neurogenic pain due to impingement on foramina or tinnitus. Bowing of the legs can also be there, curvature of the spine can also be there, gait difficulties can be there, deafness to buy bigger hats, and oral manifestations can also be there. Maxilla is more commonly involved than mandible, 3:1 ratio. So radiographic findings are can be seen in 3 stages. It can cause expansion of cortex and thinning out, but does not perforate it. Hypercementosis can also be there. Root resorption can also be there. And the management is calcitonin. We give this is to relieve pain, osteoclastic activity, and sodium etidronate can also be given. That covers bone surface and retard bone resorption and formation. So diphosphonates inhibits bone resorption, that can also be given, and mitharamycin, that is cytotoxic to osteoclast, and lastly surgery. Now coming to inflammatory lesion, that is alveolar abscess. So the management is a simple establishment of the drainage. So it can be extraoral or it can be intraoral, and removal of source of infection. So this can be immediate or delayed, and we give antibiotic for toxicity. Then we have to take medical history and all. Then carcinoma of maxillary sinus. So about 80 to 90% of the cancers in the sinus area are squamous cell carcinoma. So it is likely originates from the metaplastic epithelium of sinus lining. So etiology is not well understood, but commonly associated with woodworker, chemical, shoe and textile workers who snuff users. And clinical features, the male are more commonly affected with a mean age of 60 years. The tumor gradually increases in size and fills the sinus cavity before causing any symptoms. In early stages, the symptoms might be similar to chronic sinusitis. As malignancy starts eroding the bony wall, the swelling may manifest in various locations, intraorally, intranasally, orbitally or extraorally. Usually medial wall is eroded, leading to nasal signs and symptoms as obstruction, discharge or bleeding, and even pain will be there. So when the floor of the sinus is destroyed, so there is intraoral swelling, expansion of alveolar process, pain, numbness and loosening of teeth. And when the roof is destroyed, then there could be diplopia, proptosis, hyperesthesia, alsacia and pain over the cheek. And when lateral wall is eroded, then swelling becomes evident extraordinary. And involvement of posterior wall can cause trismus, obstruction of eustachian tube, causing stuffy ear. Radiologically, in the initial stage, it is difficult to distinguish between maxillary sinusitis and maxillary carcinoma. Maxillary sinus will be filled with soft tissue shadow. One should carefully evaluate, and the changes seen in the wall they should see whether it is sinusitis or whether it is carcinoma. Then large lesion erode the bone and causes irregular radiolucence. There might be reabsorption of roots, widening of PDL and displacement of teeth. So CT is ideal to evaluate this thing, and treatment is surgical and followed by radiotherapy. This prognosis is poor though. Dentigerous cyst, it is also called as follicular odontome. It is unilocular cystic swelling arising in the relation to to the dental epithelium from an unerupted tooth. So commonly seen in lower jaw but can also be seen in upper jaw. It occurs over the crown of unerupted tooth, commonly seen in relation with premolar or molar. It causes expansion of outer table of the mandible. Clinical feature painless swelling in the jaw which is smooth and hard. So differential diagnosis can be adamantioma, dental cyst, osteoclastoma, and complication it can turn into adamantioma. So we have to do investigation, orthopantogram, and tooth within the cyst we can see, and which will be well defined. And treatment is, if it is small, then excision of the cyst is done, and if it is large, then initial marsupialization can be done and later excision. Unerupted tooth should be extracted. So with this we come to the end of the topic, and we will be back soon with some next topic. Thank you.